Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Actual Dracula here. And joining me tonight is Brian, LCS, who has put together the CBC Awards. That's right, the Comic Book Community Awards. And so, yeah, we'll be chatting about that. If you're watching this, you may have heard of them. If not, I definitely encourage you to check it out. You'll find out more about them. Well, tonight, well, that's what this is for anyone who is either not aware of it or hasn't voted yet. Now would be a good time to do that. Yours truly is nominated actually for Best New Channel, which was absolutely shocking to me. Although it really does make sense when you think about it. So anyways, yeah, Brian, thanks for joining me.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good. And so before we actually get to the awards, I kind of wanted to know a bit more about you because I know for myself and speaking to some friends of mine in the community, I didn't really know you until this awards thing came up. I'm trying to figure out if someone had told me about it or if you had hit me up first. I don't recall exactly how I first ended up finding out about them. But once I did, I went and nominated to, all the channels that I felt were deserving of the awards in the different categories. A couple weeks later, I saw that I myself was nominated, which was just incredible. So a huge thank you to anyone who nominated me. But so, yeah, I guess I wanted to kind of know a bit more about what's your background with comic books, with collecting, what do you like to read, stuff like that.
So, I mean, I started on YouTube just earlier this year, but let me just mute this a little bit. But I was collecting on and off. I started collecting in the 80s and collected for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And then, left collecting for almost 30 years and then started back around 2018. I still had all of my original comics and started kind of getting back into it, started reading again. And then I found YouTube probably in 2019. I mean, obviously been aware of YouTube, but the comic book community on YouTube. And like 2019, started watching a few channels. And then, being home with COVID and things, working from home, had more free time. And I started to discover that there were, hundreds of channels that were dealing with comic books. So at some point along the way, I said, why don't I start my own channel? Because I was, collecting again. I've been selling some books on eBay. And so I thought, well, I have extra free time. I can, start my own channel. And that's kind of how it all happened.
Yeah, no, that's not a dissimilar kind of path that I took, where I was, not collecting for many years. So, maybe not 30, more like 15 years, 20 years even. But yeah, once I got back into it and kind of discovered this whole YouTube comic community that I didn't know existed, I did the same thing. We probably started our channels around the same time. I think mine was probably about 6 or 7 months ago.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think it was like March or April of this year. So
then that's, I mean, it goes for a lot of people, especially with the lockdown. People with free time on their hands, and why not start a YouTube channel? That was my whole thing. Was I mean, I was still working, luckily, so that wasn't the case for me. It was more just like I was really enjoying all the content that all these other people were creating, and kind of had some ideas of my own, and decided, what have I got to lose? Just just go for it.
Yeah, no, I was in a similar boat. I mean, because I think when you look at all the different channels, some have, very high production value, and then some are just, guys sharing mail calls and unboxings and things like that. So, I think, there's a low entry point for starting a YouTube channel, right? You need a camera, a microphone, and a light, and you can basically
Absolutely.
start producing video. So
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, but I mean, wanting to say do something as simple as upgrade your setup, whether it's camera or lighting, um, that's something that um, you don't even necessarily have to do, right? Because I mean, if your goal is to become someone with millions of subscribers, I suppose that stuff kind of helps. But I find for the most part, a lot of my favorite channels, I'm not really looking at that stuff whatsoever. It's more about the content, right?
right.
So
Right. Yeah. I'm finding myself watching so many just unboxing videos and mail call videos because I want to see what comic books they're, and I don't care about their background or the lighting. I just want to see the stuff they're purchasing or, or showing, because a lot of times it's books covers I haven't seen, or, books I haven't seen. So that's really the attraction to it.
yeah. That being said, I wouldn't mind looking like Chamorro Cinema right now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
He's got
know.
the best setup.
I feel a little, inadequate with the background I have, but, um, it is what it is. I do have a bunch of comics and some slabs and things like that, but I haven't had the time, or I don't really have the space to be able to kind of set, everything, all up. So,
Same here, man. I mean, if you watch my stuff, I'm either filming in my kitchen or my
yeah,
living room because I don't really have much other space to do it in.
right.
But I hope people aren't watching my videos just, it's not to look at the background.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
If you are, you're doing it all wrong. That's
Yeah, right.
all.
Yeah, if they come to, window shop in the background, then yeah,
Yeah.
they've hit the wrong channel.
Okay, and actually, so before we get into the awards, I'm maybe just gonna say hi to the chat here.
Sure.
Yeah,
it looks like you got a bunch of
Travis
guys.
Station. What is up, my guy, Mr. Jean Mallow? Yeah, I've got hockey playing on in the background as we speak.
Yeah, we got Rangers up in Montreal tonight.
Okay, yeah, nice. Yeah, it's Toronto and Ottawa. Here. Marty, how's it going? There's Mike. How you doing, man? Thanks for stopping by. Oh, brother. Whack Comics. By the way, I would recommend everyone go over to Whack Comics after this and check out the 10 hours of Tyler Sucks.
You will definitely first, then go watch it.
You'll definitely regret it. It's to cover collector. What's up, Mr. Sith Lordly? How's it going, my brother from another mother? Maybe oh brother could be a third brother, I suppose. Chop, yes. How's it going? And I think who else we got here? Oh, Remy Q. Hey, Simon. How's it going?
I wonder if Remy has a shirt on or off.
Well, it's really a 50-50 chance, right?
Yeah.
I'm going with off.
Yeah, it's Saturday night, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm sure he could confirm that for us. And John Stout, hello. Yeah. Remy and his many maids in his mansion. Yeah, that could be the case as well. Okay, so yeah, you started your YouTube channel, and then I guess not long after that, you must have come up with this idea for the awards. So where did that, I guess, idea come from? What made you want to create awards for the comic book community?
Well, so as I started, I obviously had my own channel, and I was watching a lot of other channels. And, I realized that the community obviously is very close, very supportive of one another. And I started looking around to see if there was any type of awards, because, when I was watching channels, like I said, there you see some with very high, production value, a lot of editing, others that are, not as fancy, but overall, there's so much great content that was being created. So I come from another niche kind of community. I had a personal finance blog that I ran for about 7 years, 8 years. And that community is similar to the comic book community, where it's very close knit, very supportive of one another. And they had a running award show as well for bloggers and anybody that was producing personal finance content. And so, coming from that community, coming over to the comic book, I said, I'm sure there's got to be an awards for all of the creators on YouTube. And I found out that there really wasn't. And so that's where I kind of took the idea from, the personal finance community and brought it over here. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's really how it started. And then, I did a little bit, it wasn't just threw the awards out. I did some planning. I reached out to some people in the community, got some feedback, got their thoughts. Do you think this is a good idea? And everybody that I talked to, and it wasn't, I didn't talk to 100 people. I talked to, 10 people.
Right.
10 people thought it was a good idea. And so I said, all right, let's do it. Let's put it in motion.
And how did you go about doing that? Was it just a matter of just messaging people or getting other people to message people? I guess
so initially I just did one-on-one outreach to kind of get everybody's feedback, and then when I at least thought it was a viable idea, I set up a website. I came up with the 10 categories, and then I opened up nominations. So I did a video on my channel, although I only had maybe 200 subscribers on my channel at the time. But then I started to reach out to other people, letting them know about it through Instagram. I think obviously, there was some, a little bit of backlash when the nominations closed and the finalists were announced, because that's when people heard about it
right
for the first time. And so there certainly was a misstep on my part. I probably should have reached out to more people, tagging people on Instagram or contacting more people directly, because I think what happened was people felt left out, right? They weren't aware of it until the finalists came out, so they never had the opportunity to nominate anybody. And I think the other misconception was that people that didn't know about it thought that I came up with the finalists, like that I just put people's name down on a list, and that wasn't the case. There was actually community, votes that were tallied, and that became the finalist list. So
everyone was nominated by their peers. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It wasn't me picking names out of a hat and throwing them up somewhere, right? So
you're not the academy.
Right, exactly. So that's the idea behind it. I want it to be, community driven, nominations and the finalists voting all by the community, not just a small segment, picking names or things like that. But like I said, certainly was my mistake of not reaching out to some of the larger channels. And to more channels, but back in this, kicked off in May, April, May, end of May, early June. I'm discovering new channels every day.
Yeah.
So the outreach is, I'm doing more of it now, right? I'm tagging people, but like I said, I probably found a dozen channels this week that I've never seen before, and I've subscribed to them.
Same here. Yeah. And there's new ones popping up every day as well.
Right. Right. I think I think there's been a big influx over the last, year or so of new channels. There's a lot of, like, we started around the same time. There's a lot of channels that started maybe a few months before us, and there's certainly been channels that have started after us. And then I'm discovering, like I said, channels that have been around probably even longer than that I'm just, stumbling upon, or, somebody shouting them out, and they come on my radar. So, I think each year the awards will grow, because now there's more awareness. And obviously, when there was a little bit of backlash, some of the larger channels were discussing it. Pressable Defects was very vocal about it. which was a good thing because they have thousands and thousands of subs, so it
Mm-hmm.
helped spread the word, whether it was positive or negative. People that weren't aware of it are now aware of it. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Something like building something like this from the ground up takes time, certainly. And like you said, when you started it, it would be different if, say, you had the reach of someone like Pressable Defects or Comic Tom, someone with a lot of followers. If it had been, if you had the reach that they did, obviously many more people would have known about it. But you're doing what you can, sort of very, from the ground up, right? And
Right.
I for me, I think it's been a great success so far, in that I look at the kind of the variety of channels that have been nominated, and it's and there's lots of channels there that I wasn't even aware of, right? Like, I learned about new channels through that, so it wasn't just like one little group of people. Clearly there was people finding out about it through other people, and that is generally how these things will work, right? It's the word of mouth, right?
Right.
And people
Right.
sharing this stuff. And absolutely, I think, as um next year, it only makes sense that it would be bigger, as more and more people find out about this.
Yeah, and I think obviously once the finalists are announced and the winners are announced later this year, I think that obviously there'll be some people will be happy about it. The winners obviously will be happy about
Mhm.
it, and I think there will be some more people that will now be exposed to it that maybe haven't been previously. So yeah, I think next year we'll just and my plan is to really get feedback, even more feedback from the community. So
Mhm.
if I reach out to 10 people this year, next year I want to really just open it up to anybody for their feedback, their opinions. Maybe we need to change some of the categories. So I definitely want to make it more community input for year two. That's the goal.
Right. Speaking of that, have you had much feedback from the community, or any sort of suggestions or things like that?
I think yeah, certainly looking at some of the categories, maybe expanding
Mhm.
the categories or editing some of the existing categories. Um, and I think the two that I think people were the two categories were like channel of the year
Mhm.
and lifetime achievement. My thought was channel of the year really could be any channel.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters how many subs you have, as long
Mhm.
as your subs are engaged. You could have 500
Right.
subs, but if you've got 300 of them that are very avid watchers of your content,
Mhm.
they're going to vote for you. If you
Yep.
have 5,000 subscribers but only have 100 that are engaged, um,
Yep.
you can see where the smaller channels could be nominated over bigger channels. So that's where what I like about it is that it's um, any channel can be nominated based on the engagement of the people that are watching their channels. But I think lifetime achievement. So I had a committee. There's a committee of three others. So I asked for volunteers. My goal was hopefully to have 10 people on the committee,
Mhm.
including myself. It ended up being myself and three others who helped go through the nominations and make sure that the finalist list was accurate based on the nominations.
Yep.
So not just me, just not me looking at it. I wanted to make sure there was
You're getting
others to
a
help
extra
to
set
help
of eyes
validate.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
But there were a number of channels that got nominated that weren't even on my radar. So I found
Mhm.
them through the nominations and sub them. Um,
Yeah.
but I think the lifetime achievement, maybe we should put a channel needs to be at least 3 years old and it has to have a certain number of subscribers. So we may
Mhm.
look at that's been some of the feedback that I've received. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
may look to institute that next year. I would like to have the lifetime achievement again,
Mhm.
but maybe we just put some more um, rules around that around that category. I think that would be the only one. All the others could be open to any channel. because, like I said, I think it's more about engagement than the total number of subs that you have.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I
So,
couldn't agree with that more. Um, and I mean, overall, I think looking at the categories you do have, uh, I think you definitely made some very good uh, good choices in terms of when I think about the content of like, well, I mean, everyone watches kind of different things, but when I think about the videos I watch, the people I'm subscribed to, I think those categories fit most of those channels, or most of those channels could fit into at least one of those categories. You know what I mean?
right.
Yeah.
And that's what I tried to do. I didn't
Mhm.
want to have, 40 categories, but I
Yeah.
wanted to have enough categories that represented all of the different areas of the community, right? You have some people that do heavy, speculation stuff. You have people that do
Hmm.
a bunch of unboxing. You have people that do a mix. You have some long form interviews that are really good.
Yeah.
That's really how I decided on those. That was the one thing I decided on my own, was those categories.
Yeah.
Um, but it was really by consuming so much content on YouTube that, I said, all right, these are the areas that I know are out there. But maybe we find, next year, maybe there's a category about best, NFT, collectible
Mhm.
content. Maybe that's something that evolves over the year that we add next year.
Would you consider putting in a category or just something where people can vote for the four categories as opposed to
Yeah, no,
regular
like I
channel,
said, I
like
mean,
vote
my
on
goal
what they
is,
would like to see, right? Yeah.
yeah, no, my goal is once this year ends, once we have the finalists, this is December 4th is the winners get announced.
Hmm.
My goal is, right after that is really start to collect feedback for next year. And, whether that I'm going to put up a poll on the website or have people contact me directly, but I want to try to get as much feedback as possible from the community so that we can evolve the categories for year two.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And so what what day do the polls close for this?
I'm sorry.
When is the last day people can
Oh,
vote?
so yeah, so we're 4 weeks away right now
Mhm.
from finalist voting closing. So it's November 13th is the final day that you can vote for the current, for the finalist. So there's 11 categories, 5 finalists in each category. And that we're basically at the 4 week mark for that to close. And then that gives myself and the committee a few weeks to just, kind of validate all of the votes, and then the winners get announced December 4th.
Okay. And do you have anything planned for that day? Like, are you gonna do it on YouTube or
Yeah,
yeah?
so it's going to be a full live stream.
Mhm.
I'm planning, obviously the big piece will be announcing the winners in each of the 11 categories, but I've already reached out to a number of channels and asked them to um, maybe produce a small video or some entertaining content, some funny content, like maybe a segment from Freaky Louie, or
Mhm.
maybe one of the rap battle contestants from DJ Link's channel. Maybe we'll do a rap, around the award. So yeah, I want to make it entertaining, fun. So I want to include the community. And so, anybody here tonight in the chat, if you have an idea that you want included in the awards, please, contact me, let me know. I have a few things that I'm, like pre-recorded videos that I'll, intertwine within the live stream, kind of like, like any award show, right? They have
Mhm.
an
Yeah.
award and then they have, whether it's somebody singing or, whatever it may be. So I want to try to make it, you know, more than just announcing the winners.
Yeah. Yeah. We already have one of our first suggestions for category, most
Yes.
lick-worthy haul. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard Lickworthy. I think best mullet category.
Yeah.
There's a few categories that are being considered for next year.
Uh, greetings from the bar bathroom. Oh, okay. All right there, DJ. Um, yeah, so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Like I said, I was just shocked to be nominated at all. So, I if I win, that would be incredible. But if I don't, at the same time, it's just I'm happy for whoever does win because looking at all these other channels, like yeah, every it could go to anyone. Everyone deserves it. You know, that's
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's any one of the categories could be, it's really
mhm,
kind of wide open.
yeah.
And I think there's a good representation, like you had said. There's
Mhm,
some old OG channels, with really big followers. There's some kind of like mid-level channels, and then there's some really new channels, and that's
yeah.
that. So the best new channel that is geared towards the newer channels.
Mhm,
But so I think there's a good mix, and then
yeah.
I added the 11th category for people that the people's choice for people that weren't aware of the awards when the original nominations came out for the 10.
Mhm,
And
right.
then we have 5 new finalists in that category that weren't previously nominated. So I think it's well represented for across the community.
Yeah, I think so. I like I remember like for example when the Pressable Defects show, I guess what they were what maybe Debucha was upset about was not so much the awards as the fact that there was a lot of I guess he felt there was a lot of channels who'd been around a long time or who have put out a lot of content that weren't nominated. Um, but I mean, the thing is, with no matter no matter what the case is, when you have an awards thing like this where it's community driven, not everyone is going to be necessarily be nominated because even if I'd say had been doing this for 5 years, that doesn't necessarily mean that people watching me are going to nominate me. Maybe and whether it's because they hadn't heard about it or maybe they're just not interested. You know what I mean? So,
Right, right. And
uh,
the awards may not be for everybody, right? I
mhm,
mean, I got, I watched Pressable Defects and the Butcher Block and saw his comments.
mhm,
And we had a little back and forth. We've talked a few times, so any bad blood has been cleared. But
yeah,
I certainly acknowledge their point of like they were unaware of it, so they didn't even have the opportunity to vote. So I apologized. That was certainly a misstep on my part. But I think to stop, or I think some of the comments were, well, we should cancel the awards this year and regroup, and that really wouldn't have been fair to the channels that
mhm,
had already been nominated and received votes. And I think the big thing that people didn't understand was that there were like 180 channels that received votes,
mhm,
but they just didn't have enough votes to
and
become
yeah,
the finalists. So
yeah,
there was a pretty good
mhm,
number of channels, um, that receives at least a vote or two.
yeah.
In some cases, a lot of votes, but there were 5 other channels that got more votes. So
Yeah,
uh,
there can also be certainly be the case with say someone like Reggie Collects. Yes, he's got a lot of followers, but he was also I think promoting it probably more than a lot of other channels, right? So
right.
his subscribers knew about this and I think it shows, right? He's been nominated in several categories deservedly so. I mean, he's definitely one of my favorite creators. So,
Yeah, and he was one of the first channels that I had found. But
mhm.
I think the thing about his channel is that he has a very engaged, audience followings, the subs that
Gibbon
follow
the
him.
Gibbon gang, man. Yeah,
Right. Yeah,
which I would
exactly.
consider
Exactly.
myself part of, yeah.
But you pop into any one
Mhm,
of his live streams and he's got 100, 100
mhm,
and 30, 150 people watching him.
yeah.
And so if he mentions, hey, go vote for me, a lot of they're taking action to go nominate or vote for him in the
Right.
finalists. So
So I guess, like, I get the point I was trying to get to was because you said it was kind of a misstep on your part. I don't think that was the case so much as that it's just this is just getting started, and that it might take it might take a bit more time, and I think like we said in the beginning, every year it'll get bigger and bigger for sure.
Yeah,
No doubt.
yeah, no, I agree too. And but I've reached out to some people on Instagram who have large channels, and
Mhm.
I've never received a reply back from them.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
You know,
I
so
guess
there are people
there's
that
also
may,
some people that just aren't going to be interested. Sure.
right.
Yeah.
It may not be their thing,
Mhm.
which is fine. You know, that maybe it's, you know, it's not for everybody. I mean, I subscribe to a ton of channels. You know, I probably have a subscription of like 500 or 600 channels. I don't watch every single channel. I try to watch as much as I can, but I'm running my own channel. I'm running the awards, but you know, I try to pop in. But at least I've subbed to them, and so they have me as a sub, whether I'm, you know, consistently watching their content or, you know, or not. And obviously, I feel a little bit as a somebody who's running an award show for the community. I want to sub up as many comic book, you know, channels as possible. I want them, you know, I want to have as many on my radar as, you know, as I
Mhm.
can.
Yeah. Um, most relaxed channel. Yeah, I think I think if most relaxed channel is a category ever, that the person most aggressively relaxing should get that. I agree. Um, yeah, I mean, same here. I'm always trying to. Um, I mean, there's just so much content. There's no way to take it all in, you know.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, we do what we can. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah. So you said people have till November 13th to vote.
Yep, November 13th. That'll be the last day that you can vote for the finalists in the 11 categories. But the one thing I wanted to mention too is that, you know, I'll check in like once a week on the nominate on the votes that are coming in. And I looked earlier today, and there was about 475 uh, submitted votes, but there's 10 categories, so that's like 4,700 votes that
Hmm.
have been cast for the finalists. So I think, you know, I think the community is pretty engaged. If there's 475 individual, you know, submissions, that's a pretty good, you know, number
Yeah.
of channels that have voted, or, you know, people that are, whether it's channel owners or people that just watch our content, right? It's still,
Hmm.
I think, a pretty good. And when 4 weeks left, you know, that number will only grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So is there anything else you kind of wanted to say about the awards or?
I mean, the only other thing I would say is, like, if anybody has any questions, certainly reach out to me on Instagram. Like I said, and I'm looking for community involvement for the show. So if anybody has an idea or wants to put a video together that we can include in the live stream when the winners get announced, certainly, you know, we can discuss it, and we'll, you know, like I said, I want to really make it a community event that everybody has fun with. So, um, you know, just reach out to me with any suggestions or, you know, ideas.
It's awesome. Yeah. Um, yeah, so I don't know if you need to get going, it's all good. If not, I'm gonna hang out here. I'm gonna put a link in the chat if anyone wants to hop on
Yeah, no,
and
I can
talk
hang out. We'll see
and
who
talk
joins us.
about fandom. So you said you were watching some of that today. What did you think? What are your what things stood out to you?
Well, obviously, I think, you know, the Black Adam. They opened with the Black Adam trailer. That was really good to finally see The Rock, you know, in as the character. I think the Batman trailer was just incredible. You know, definitely, it looks like a darker, you know, version of Batman. But the trailer itself, just some of the we were talking. I was talking with a few people about the tunnel scene where two guys are shooting, you know, rifles at Batman. And it's dark, and you just see the rifle fire, and
Yeah.
him kind of
Yeah.
getting closer to the, and then taking the guys down. I mean, it looks like a really good, you know, good movie. And then there's a ton of stuff in between. I mean, the there's the Aquaman. They showed some of the footage from the new Aquaman movie, but then there's the Aquaman animated series, which looked a little little out there, a little strange, but
Yeah, I didn't actually watch that part. I think I was just doing something while that was going, but I didn't even realize they were doing an Aquaman animated thing. Is it like it's a series, like an
yeah, I think it
ongoing
may be
series?
just like a mini series, like maybe
Mhm.
4 parts or 5 parts, something like that. I'm not sure if it's going to be an ongoing series. Um,
Right.
but that looks pretty interesting. And then they're kind of redoing the Batman animated series
Yes.
from the 90s, which I
Yeah.
remember watching all of those and thought that was really great. So I'm pretty excited to see that redone. I didn't see they had, I guess, some concept footage for it, but I didn't get to see that. Um,
Yeah, they were basically just talking about it, but that's definitely one of the things I'm most excited for, uh, is that kind of new animated series because they're who was it? Bruce Timm, who is producing this as well. He was saying he's gonna be more animated series than the animated series. Like he was making it
right,
sound like all the things that made that what it was, they're gonna, I guess, really focus on, I guess, giving it that kind of feel, that film noir, um, just very stylized. I would imagine.
and I think they
Um,
mentioned like there were some things that they couldn't do with the animated series in the
right.
90s, like
It sounds like they're just gonna do like an R-rated
right, a more adult version,
version.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, the Chinatown style Batman. Yeah, that was one of the more I guess surprising things because I didn't even know that they were working on that. So
Yeah,
that
that
was
was news to me. Yeah, I hadn't
mhm.
heard that before.
um but going back to the start, yeah, Black Adam, that um is also one of my favorite things. Very short kind of teaser, but that got me pretty stoked to see Black Adam. Um gives you kind of like, in general, I'm not a huge DC guy. I don't know much about Black Adam, but to me, he just kind of seems like I guess he's like an evil Superman or something, or an evil Shazam, right?
Right.
But
Yeah, and I don't know much about the character either, but
Mhm,
definitely just watching that, 30 whatever it was, maybe a minute
mhm.
long, teaser, you definitely, as a superhero fan, certainly
Yeah.
I certainly got excited about it. Like, wow, it
Oh,
looks,
absolutely. Yeah, it looks fantastic. Um, there was that. There was a bunch of things in between I didn't really that weren't really things I follow, like the Superman show or Supergirl. Um, yeah, a lot of the TV stuff, the animated stuff. It's hard for me to get excited about a lot of the animated stuff because that's stuff they kind of just pump out all the time. There's a lot, especially DC.
oh
They have a
yeah,
lot of animated stuff that I haven't, and it could be great, but it's just I generally don't get around to watching that stuff because like the list of things that I want to watch is so long and that those kind of end up at the bottom of my
right.
list. Like there's the I guess the Injustice cartoon, I think.
Yeah, they
Uh
mentioned Injustice. I think there's a
yeah.
new I thought there was one with like King Shark and
Yeah, King Shark, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he seems to be, very all over the place now, coming off the Suicide Squad 2 movie. He seems to
Yeah.
be, front and center in a lot of the stuff they're doing now.
Mhm. Oh yeah, and then so Peacemaker I thought was also a
Oh,
major
yeah.
highlight. Uh that looks very promising.
Yeah, and I think they described it as a superhero show set in kind of the office.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm on board for that. That sounds like
That's a great simple, like, elevator pitch, right?
yeah, yeah,
And then when you see, um, uh, I guess kind of, when you saw the trailer, it's like, okay, I see where they're going with that. Um, just in terms of, like, it's gonna be heavy on the comedy, which is great. That's the other thing. Like a lot of the DC shows in general, I haven't really been watching, like the Flash, or Legion. Legion, I would like to actually watch, but again, those are shows I haven't really got around to watching. But this one is one that I would definitely watch.
Yeah, I'm the same boat. I haven't really watched much of the TV
Mhm.
stuff, Flash, and Star. A lot of people have been talking in the community about Stargirl being a really good show. I haven't watched that. That's one I may check out. But the Peacemaker show is definitely I'm going to
Yeah,
be there. Day one based on what I've seen so far. It looks like a really
yeah,
good show.
yeah. I love Vigilante. They nailed his costume.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, he looks great. And John Cena is he's fast on his way to becoming everyone's favorite wrestler turned actor. I mean, he's right on the Rock's heels, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, DC has managed to get them both, so that's good. Yeah, Vigilante looks perfectly stupid. Yeah, because it's kind of a ridiculous costume, but I'm a big fan of it. Yeah, so there was that. Then they talked about, I think, like the Supergirl show and another thing that looked cool, of course, was Gotham Knights, the video game. Those things are kind of hard to gauge because they don't, without seeing any actual in-game footage, you're just basically seeing cutscenes. Um, but the big deal, of course, with that is at the Court of Owls, which
Right.
I know a lot of people are excited about that. I love, Scott Snyder's run on Batman is one of my favorites. I love the Court of Owls story. Um, so that's something. I don't want to say I'm super excited about it because again, I'd have to like see what the actual game is like, because if the game is if the game isn't that great, then what's the point? I'd rather just read the comic, like yes,
Right.
I'm sure
Right.
it'll have a good story, but for a video game, I think the gameplay is most important.
But I
Um,
mean, they have had a pretty good track record with some of the previous Batman games.
oh yeah,
Um,
I liked
so
all the Arkham games are the ones I played. Yeah.
right, yeah. So hopefully, they take some of the good elements from those games and carry it over.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely cool to see Court of Owls in something, It's
Oh
been
yeah,
a
yeah.
long time coming.
They
Um,
actually did. I don't know if you ever watched the show Gotham. The
no, I've seen like a couple random episodes here and there.
And that was kind of before Batman was in this. The storyline is basically before Batman was in Gotham. It was kind of a young Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
But they had just started to introduce the Court of Owls at the end of the series. The show ran for 5 seasons, and they
Hmm.
introduced it, I think, in the 5th season, but it never really, fully played out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. Again, that's another show. I never really got into any of the DC shows. The Marvel ones, yes. Like I loved Daredevil and Punisher and all those. I guess Marvel doesn't really have anything like this, do they? Like fandom. I mean, they have.
No, I don't think they really. I mean, I guess they're tied in now with the Disney, the Disney Investors Day or whatever Disney does. They
Yeah,
highlight all of the different stuff that is on Disney Plus now. But I
yeah,
don't think Marvel, yeah, Marvel doesn't have their own kind of standalone event.
yeah. Because this is the second year I've watched Fandom, and I gotta say, I think it's a really good way of like, especially if you can't go to cons where it used to be for all this stuff, you'd have to actually go to cons or wait till trailers showed up at cons. But having these sort of like all compacted into like a few hours, like just here's all the trailers you want to see, here's other stuff that we're working on. I really I thought I thought it's kind of a great way to do that, have it all
Oh
like
yeah, it definitely
in
gets
one
the fan base
package.
excited about things, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
My
absolutely.
my actually daughter had texted me earlier tonight. One of her good friends had his artwork featured tonight during one
Oh
of the
nice.
segments.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did
yeah, I
a
like
really
that they
good
did that.
uh, Batgirl
Mhm.
picture that was actually in it. So it was pretty cool to
Yeah.
see that.
Oh, and and so they also did mention the Batgirl movie, which they didn't go into much about it, but I'd definitely be excited to see a Batgirl movie.
Yeah, I think they just announced just recently, right in the last couple of
Mhm.
months. I think the casting, right
Exactly,
for the
yeah.
lead, right? Yeah,
Mhm. But then the actual Batman trailer, uh I thought that was phenomenal. I, I guess I don't think it had the impact that the first trailer did, which they showed at last year's Fandom. I guess it's a little different because like no one knew anything about the movie at all. We hadn't seen anything, and then they dropped that first trailer, and I was like, my mind was blown.
yeah,
Uh, but getting to see a little bit more of that, yeah, very cool. I'm really looking forward to this movie. Um, I was kind of hoping they'd show a bit more of the Riddler. If you're not actually, it's interesting because if you don't really know what the Riddler looks like yet, you kind of have little clues. If you want to see what the Riddler looks like in this movie, uh, check out Todd McFarlane because McFarlane Toys showed the statue already. So you
oh,
get to
okay.
see his full costume in the statue. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the beginning segment of the
Hmm.
Todd McFarlane, but I was doing some stuff and didn't get to watch all of that. So yeah, I'll
Yeah.
have to check that out. Yeah, because they've kind of not really, obviously the opening of the trailer is where it looks like they're arresting the Riddler,
Hmm.
but he just leaves the coffee cup with the little
Yeah.
question mark in it. Yeah,
They've kept it very much in line, I think, with the whole year one Batman thing, and that the Riddler's costume's also very like it's like a guy in a green jacket and a mask, and he's supposed to look like he's supposed to be a serial killer, I guess, and kind of looks the part. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So far, so good.
yeah, yeah, and so that's definitely the thing I'm most looking forward to is Batman. And Black Adam, surprisingly, I didn't think I would be, but after watching that little teaser, I'm definitely stoked for Black Adam.
Did they have a release date for Black Adam? I don't think we've
I
seen that
don't
yet, right?
think so.
Okay.
I do believe it is next year. I'm just not sure when. I know.
Because Peacemaker, I think, is in January, and
Mhm.
then Batman is in March.
March 4th for
Yeah.
Batman. Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I really wish Marvel would do something like this. Have it's a good way to kind of drum up interest in that. I think I mean I don't know if it helps with other things with those properties. Like does doing something like this, say, letting people know that there is a Batgirl movie coming, is that going to sell more Batgirl comics in the next year? I would think it probably would, so it makes sense to do something like this.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
think it was interesting, right? Because they showed movies, they showed TVs, they showed comics, they showed video games. So
Hmm.
they were kind of hitting all the different areas. So you really kind of, depending on what you're into, there was something there. If you're a video game person, well, they showed some, PC and console games and some mobile games. So there's some, if you like animated shows, there was stuff, so it kind of hit on all the different areas. And yeah, I think if Marvel did something similar, it would certainly get Marvel fans really pumped up about all of the things coming out. So
Right. Or as John Stout said, Marvel doesn't care about their fans. uh, well, I mean, uh, I don't know if I agree with that. I know who doesn't care about fans is Penguin Random House, and
Yeah, I
hopefully
noticed a
they.
lot of extra dings in comic books this past
Oh my
Wednesday.
God, yeah, I've seen some just a lot of horror stories, just boxes and boxes full of crunched up comic books. That's no good. Hopefully they figure that out.
Yeah, yeah, and I didn't. I know my LCS that I usually go to. They mentioned that this was like their first week of Penguin, but I
Yeah.
just happened. I didn't talk to anybody when any of the store employees, but I did notice a number of books that were corners that were dinged and a little bit more than I've seen in the past. So
It's just amazing to me that they would even like it seems like such a simple thing, but you'd think the logistics of they're going to be distributing, X amount of comic books, millions of copies, right? That they would and they're now responsible for this, that they would figure out, maybe there's a proper way to do it. No, they just chuck them in a box and be like, oh, just ship it off like it's, you know some reams of paper or something. It's
yeah, and they've had it's been a long transition. It's been
mhm.
several months since the announcement, and they've certainly had time to kind of figure it out. But
Yeah.
it looks like they still need a little bit more time.
Yeah, I guess so. Um Anyways, I put the link out there. I don't know if anyone else is hopping on, but if not, I'm gonna probably just end this here. It's okay because it'll give me an opportunity to go do some stuff
Some
that I
watching
have
of
to
other
do.
content.
Watching what?
I say go watch some other content.
Yeah, well, of course. That's always on the agenda. Absolutely. Um, but yeah, this has been great. Thanks for coming on and hanging out.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Like I said, I just I definitely want to make sure that the word is out about the awards and that you know there's no misconceptions about how things have been progressing with the awards, and then really to make it bigger and better for year two. So
Hmm.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And yeah, I think I put all the links down below. So, guys, if you haven't voted, you have till November 13th. Uh, Feel free to vote for me for best new channel. If not, vote for literally any of the other channels. They're all great. So yeah, thank you to anyone who tuned in and is watching this. And yeah, thanks again, Brian. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks.